With this here, this ain't about being flashy. This is game day, son. It's only about one thing. Getting that W. That's the only thing that matters right now. Boy, are you ready?
The past is the past, you know? It's a new day, bro. My day. Gotta do it now.
Blindside Fantasy Football back for another podcast. Matt and I switching it up a little bit this time. We're going to go over a little bit of news and notes because God knows there's been a lot since in the last week with all these injuries happening. But we always feel like we talk about injuries in this podcast. We're going to switch it up for you guys. Talk a little bit about some sleepers and busts we have for this year. Just some guys that we think are going to outperform their ADP and maybe some guys that we think you're going to be really disappointed in. So, Matt, how's it going?
Good. I think actually we're doing this at a genius time. Couple days, into practice. We've obviously had not a lot of information to go over because while they're not practices, not a lot of stuff to talk about. So that's why we're making the transition now. I think it's going to be a fun segment. Definitely excited for this one. Over the old ho hum. This guy hurt his toe again today thing.
Yeah, definitely getting you guys ready for your drafts. We're gonna have a lot more things like this leading up to your drafts because. Everybody needs that little extra help, something to help you get through your draft when your guy's taken, or some guys that maybe you didn't even think of before. Maybe you'll think differently of them now. But before we get into that, we are doing the whole hum injuries thing because, like I said, there's been a lot of big ones over the last week.
Yeah, these aren't too ho hum actually.
No, I mean you've probably heard by now, but Jeremy Maclin tore his ACL, out for the year. Dennis Pitta, fractured hip, also out for the year. And I guess they're saying with his fractured hip, his career may be in jeopardy depending on how that hip heals. So definitely two really, really big injuries. And then the latest one, Percy Harvin, with his torn labrum. They're saying he's going to be out 3 to 4 months right now, but I guess the normal recovery time is about 6 months. So he could be missing the whole year, but definitely missing a huge chunk of it. So let's talk about these guys real quick. We kind of talked about Maclin versus Deshaun Jackson last week. I'm looking like a genius right now because I said Deshaun and you were all over Maclin. But
the injury is going to ruin this one to show everyone how correct I would have been about that. But yeah, obviously
you wouldn't have been correct, so it's fine. This one saved you a little bit.
Obviously, at this point with Maclin going out, Deshaun is just more exciting. So I'm going to jump on your train with you. Maclin being gone, of course, that's going to really open the field. And I think it's going to hurt him in some ways too. Maclin's a guy you gotta account for out there. I don't know if Riley Cooper stepping in is going to put that kind of scare on a defense coordinator that Maclin can with his speed, but still, it leaves one very good player off the field, meaning hopefully Deshaun's going to step up, and I think he can.
Yeah, I mean, I think this definitely bumps Deshaun Jackson up. I think you're bumping him up because he's getting more targets now. It is going to hurt him a little bit that he's going to have more of the focused attention on him now because he is going to be pretty much. Well, he is. He's the only guy there now. I mean, Riley Cooper is nothing. Maybe we see a little bit more out of Zach Ertz than we expected, or even though Brent Selleck was going to be the blocking tight end, maybe he comes back to his former glory with Michael Vick, or even Nick Foles because we still haven't figured out that situation yet.
I think McCoy might get a little bit more involved in the passing game.
Maybe
really be an uptick, I think, for him as well.
Yeah, I tweeted that out actually earlier this week. I said, kind of goes back to my article, the Chip Kelly offense and how they run the ball all the time. Maybe McCoy and Bryce Brown just get that much more work now. Maybe they just run the ball that much more.
Yep.
But I think it definitely makes Deshaun Jackson more interesting. LaShawn McCoy was already on my radar. I don't think he gets that much of a bump.
LaShawn McCoy was on your radar, huh?
Yeah, of course he was.
Whose radar is he not on? Jesus Christ!
Oh my God! I just meant I liked him more than most people. I actually in one of my early draft leagues here, I took him over Ray Rice in a PPR league, so that kind of tells you how much I'm up on McCoy this year. But Dennis Pitta, I mean, Torrey Smith, the sky's the limit now, right? It's got to be. I mean, it's kind of like Deshaun Jackson, only I think Torrey Smith is better than Deshaun Jackson.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think this makes a huge difference in the Torrey Smith situation. I think Ed Dixon's going to fill the role perfectly fine. I think he's actually a more gifted player. Now, I don't know if that translates to the football field, but as far as athleticism, I like Ed Dixon. He's just a few years away from a pretty good year in year two. Obviously, Pitta kind of took the role last year, but I don't know. Torrey Smith, he's big on the deep ball. He's been coming around.
Not just the deep ball.
I know. He's been coming around, but I don't know. Yeah, obviously, when a guy like Pitta goes down, he's targets are going to need to go somewhere, and he'll get a slight uptick. But I don't know if it's going to be a huge.
I think Torrey Smith.
Maybe he jumps up a rank for me.
I think Torrey Smith is a better all-around receiver than Deshaun Jackson, and as much as it hurts me to say it, at this point, I think Joe Flacco is the better quarterback out of Nick Foles and Michael Vick.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, but I don't know about. I'd still take Deshaun over Torrey Smith.
Ooh,
sure.
I would put that on. I'd put that up against you any day. Oh, I would totally take Torrey Smith
as a football player and as a fantasy football player. I would take Deshaun.
Well,
either way.
Let's move on to your Percy Harvin here. The guy that you got to watch in Minnesota for so long, and we're kind of sad to see him leave for the Seahawks. But now that he's hurt, I mean, he's got to be like Michael Crabtree, right? He's totally off your radar.
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing Stephania Bell today talk, they're thinking week 13 is what they're kind of shooting for
yeah,
him.
So that's the last week.
It was either 12 or 13, and that week actually is a Monday night game. So there's a game where I'm not going to play him first game back anyways. But if you're desperate and that's a situation you're looking at, now you got to decide him over the guys that are playing Sunday. So I think it's not till week 14 I'm looking for him. Say you're late in the year, clearly in the playoffs. Maybe he's a guy I pick up in week 10, 11. And hope I beat guys to the punch and get a little jolt from him out of the playoffs. But still, he's off my radar. 100% will not be drafted by me in anything.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the plan for him is to bring him back after their bye week, which I think their bye week is week 12. So he's back week 13, which is the final probably regular season week for your fantasy leagues. So he's pretty much, like you said, only going to be back for your playoffs. Right. So I mean, I think you're dead on with that. I think once you've locked up your playoff spot, that's when you go out and get them. If you locked up your playoff spot at week 8 and you know you're going to make it the playoffs, you're 8-0 and everybody else is sitting at 5-3 or something like that, and you've got your playoff pretty much locked up.
Right.
I think that's when you go out and get them and sit on them. But really, I mean, even then, it's going to be so hard to trust him, isn't it?
Well, the thing is if the timeline you're talking, and I'm mentioning here with his injury as well as your regular season getting over for your fantasy league, if you're going into week 1 of the playoffs, unless you're hurting at that wide receiver 2 flex, whatever it might be, 3, sorry, it's definitely not a situation where I'm going to want to have a guy that's played one game back from an injury. Now, if he has a big game that Monday night, he is Percy Harvin. It's possible, but again, it's a thing where I'm desperate at a position and I need a fill-in. He's a home run type guy for filling in that situation, I guess you could say. So yeah, he's a guy I'd stash if I get him, but I'm not gonna drop anybody significant to hold on to a guy that is coming back for the first week of my playoffs. Pretty likely.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to trust him, obviously, in playoff situations where you're one and done. And what do you think about him though in dynasty leagues now? Though, I mean, he's proven year after year that he just misses games. Is he the Darren McFadden of wide receivers? I mean, in dynasty leagues, how are you valuing him? Before in dynasty leagues, he was probably a top 7 guy, maybe top 5 guy because of his age, especially in PPR formats where he's getting all those receptions.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's not going to be a huge drop for me. Obviously, you got to take this season into account, but pretend it didn't matter to you next year.
Every season it's something though. One season it's migraines. One season it's his foot. This season it's his groin. It's like, oh my god, every year it's something.
And I'd like to see the games he's played over the seasons and see how many he's actually missed. But I don't know. I still like him. He's a supreme talent. One of the best players in the league.
I think for me in Dynasty, I got to bump him out of my top 10 now. I think before he was top 7. I think now he's
I'd like to see the names sitting there, and do a name type situation. Well, who's it going to be? This guy, that guy, but he is a supremely talented player. Although, as you say, injuries are starting to really be a concern for him.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into these sleepers and busts. We're going to bust them out kind of by position here.
Yeah, I like how we did this too. We both kind of did this on our own as far as making the list. So it's interesting looking at them now. We got some guys that are in both categories.
I was going to say, I haven't seen Matt's list yet, so it's going to be some surprises when I see people. So hopefully we got some of the same people here. But I'll start it off with a guy that in these My Fantasy League $10 drafts I've been doing a lot of them. My guy Mark Hava on Twitter, he's been kind of going back and forth with me about these because he is the My Fantasy 10s kind of champion out there, just playing in like 30 of them, I think, by now. But we talk about him all the time, and this is a guy that I'm picking up in almost every one of them, and we kind of touched on him a few weeks ago, but Tom Brady I see as a sleeper this year. I'm getting him in the middle of the 5th round, and I'm really just thinking that's too low for him. I mean, year after year, he's a top 3 quarterback, and he's proven that it doesn't matter who he has for receivers, he gets it done. I mean, what do you think of Tom Brady at the middle of the 5th round?
It's tough for me to call Tom Brady a sleeper. When you say NFL quarterback, it's almost like Tom Brady's the first thing you think of. But I see what you're saying as far as value. Sleeper can be so many different things. You're looking at it as a value standpoint, and I agree with you. In the 5th round, I've taken him in a draft this year as well, and I was excited to get him in the 5th round. I mean, like you said, it's Tom Brady. You can pretty much chalk it up as it's going to be a 20-point week for him. He's not a guy that really lets you down ever.
Consistent.
Yeah, it's tough to call him a sleeper. Like I said, everybody knows Tom Brady, but for sure, value, I like that pick right there. He's 5th, 6th guy off the board right now. So
yeah,
I like that pick there.
Who do you got for a sleeper?
I went a little different route. I went
deep sleeper.
Yeah, one of my guys, deep sleeper. I'm gonna keep an eye on Terrell Pryor. I know.
Oh my God, that's going way deep.
Way deep. And we're looking at different spectrums here, obviously. And I've got a few other guys. You want me to name like a bigger name guy? I got Eli Manning on there.
No, talk about Pryor. I want to hear about Pryor.
It's the running quarterback thing. It's catching me. You've seen the guys over the last couple of years, the Wilsons, the Kaepernicks.
You think he's going to be starting this year?
I don't.
So this is more for dynasty?
No, I mean, it's maybe he could start this year. Yeah, no, obviously he's not starting the season. Come week 6, week 8. Not a guy I'm not targeting in any drafts. I'm not drafting him. It's just a guy that I want to keep.
He's a deep sleeper guy that I'm just not looking at all.
I'm not drafting him, but it's a guy I'm going to keep an eye on. I think he'll guarantee he's not starting week 1. There's no question there. But I'm going to keep an eye on him because I think he's a guy, if he gets the opportunity, and I don't see them going anywhere, so why not give him a shot? I think we've talked about that in earlier podcasts. I got Carson Palmer up there. I got Eli Manning.
Carson Palmer, I think, he is one that I am all over this year. I think he's going, 13th, 14th round.
You didn't have him written down on your list there.
I'm surprised. I must have just spaced it on him.
Yeah, I'm excited about him. Look what the Colts did last year. 5th most passes in the NFL. He's consistent. I mean, he's a good deep ball thrower. He's not quite what he was when he was younger, but he still can do it. He's got a great wide receiver, obviously, in Larry Fitzgerald
and Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd's a guy that might be on a couple of our sleeper lists here.
And Andre Roberts is another good, wide receiver 3 for
he's
that
team. He's a guy
team.
last year you kept saying no, and then he produced. So
and then you still got Rob Hausler too, who runs a 4.40.
He's a big guy.
A big guy. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there on Palmer. I think Palmer, if you're doing a quarterback by committee thing and you're waiting late to hit quarterback, he's your guy. If I'm waiting that long for a quarterback, I may be okay with him as my quarterback 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's a sneaky play.
Just think about if you waited on him. Look at the rest of your team. I mean, you'd have.
I think he's a sneaky guy that can break into the top 12 at my quarterback this year.
No question about it. And what do you think? My other one there, Eli Manning. The thing with him is I'm seeing Victor Cruz is happy. He got his money. Nix is going to be probably getting his money soon, and all accounts he's healthy. So,
but is it going to be a Chris?
Is he going to stay healthy?
Is it going to be a Chris Johnson situation where you get paid and you kind of take that season off?
Right. I don't see that in Victor Cruz, an undrafted guy who's a hard worker by all accounts. But I see what you're saying. The old Steve Francis idea where. Oh my God, where did he go? You get paid and then
and you disappear.
They hit the Twinkies.
Yeah. Speaking of hitting the Twinkies, this is a total side note right now. Did you see the Twitter pic of Eddie Lacy?
No.
Oh my God, I have to show you that after this podcast tonight. I'm sure everybody on Twitter land has already seen this, but the Packers kind of put out a picture of Eddie Lacy at camp this week, and he's kind of turning to the side, catching like a screen pass. And he looks like a guy that's been hitting the Twinkies.
Really?
Oh, my God. He looks like big, fat Eddie Lacy right now. There's no more big, fat Lindell White. It's big, fat Eddie Lacy.
Never been a small guy. He's a punishing running back. But
my God.
I don't think a guy at that level should have a gut on him, ever.
That's
just...
It is something
I can have it because this is what I do, and I do other... no, not an NFL running back.
It is something that if you haven't seen, you need to go out and Google it and just check that out. They're saying it might be the camera angle. It is definitely not a Photoshop pic by any means because it's on the Packers.com website. So it's definitely a legit pic that has not been Photoshopped. Scary stuff. If he's really pushing that weight that he looks like in that picture,
yeah.
If I'm a dynasty owner, I am I am trading him
Maybe
away
based
right
on
now.
the gut, I should put him on my bust list.
Oh my God!
Now, deep sleepers for you, I see on your list here, Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
I love some
another
Phillip
one that's
Rivers
it's
this
a
year.
big name guy like Eli and the Tom Brady's, but let me know why you think Phillip's a good sleeper.
I think he gave up on Norv Turner. I think he hated Norv Turner and just gave up on Norv Turner. And with a different head coach, he is going to blossom again back like he used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget he used to have
He was a stud.
30 touchdown seasons
Yep.
over and over and over again. And he's being picked in the last pick of the 12th round. I mean, 12th round for a guy that consistently used to put up 30 touchdown seasons. I mean, you're not going to find that. I mean, even when we talk about guys like Palmer didn't consistently put up 30 touchdown seasons.
Right.
I mean, people going in that 12th round, you're talking, the Jay Cutlers and such. And Jay Cutler hasn't put up a 30 touchdown season once, let alone multiple ones like Phillip Rivers has. Phillip Rivers for a long time was on par with people like Tony Romo until these last couple of years and all these interceptions happened. And I think he just kind of, gave up on Norv. And now, I mean, you got a great receiver in Denario Alexander. He's going to finally have a healthy Vincent Brown. He's got Keenan Allen, who they just drafted too. So three great receivers.
That's exactly what I was just going to mention. I actually really like the receiving core this year.
You got oldest
Malcolm Floyd's still there.
Malcolm Floyd's. I'm not going to boast about Malcolm
If
Floyd
you're talking
quite
about
yet.
a number 3-4 wide receiver, I'd say
But
it's a very good one.
It's a very good wide receiver 4, and you still got old as fuck Antonio Gates there, who still can be a red zone threat.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later
And
on tight ends.
I mean,
boss.
and let's be honest. I mean, I like Ryan Matthews this year, but no one's afraid of Ryan Matthews running the ball.
Right.
So they're going to be throwing the ball, I think, more than you'd expect.
Yeah, Norv, it's good riddance. It's going to be a whole new change over there in San Diego, so it's exciting to see some of these. I'm getting excited talking about these sleeper quarterbacks. You can get guys late that I think you're going to be very happy with, and you're going to be able to stack your team with other stuff. Now, obviously, Tom Brady in the 5th round, it's a little earlier. You're not really waiting too long, but that's tough to pass up. So it's going to be a big year for quarterbacks. The league's obviously going that way.
You got any more sleepers, or are we moving on to these busts?
We'll go over to the bust.
I got to tell you, I don't have many bust quarterbacks.
Me neither, because of where they're falling.
Yeah, they're just falling so late. It's kind of hard to have a guy that's going to be a bust when you're not really taking quarterbacks until the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th rounds, that type of things. But the one guy I am kind of a little bit worried about, just in comparison to the other guys going around him, is Andrew Luck this year. Bruce Arians is gone. He was the guy that really was the downfield, deep threat, kind of throw the ball deep kind of every time. And I just, compared to, Robert Griffin going in that round, or Russell Wilson, those kind of guys. I like how you're cracking the beer over there while I'm getting to work over here.
That's kind of rude.
So anyway, people like Robert Griffin, you got Russell Wilson going in there, Colin Kaepernick. Give me all of those guys before Andrew Luck. At some point, Reggie Wayne's going to hit that cliff and he's going to fall off. And no more Bruce Arians. I don't know. Reggie Wayne falling off that cliff. DHB out there, T.Y. Hilton, good receivers, but they brought in Ahmad Bradshaw for a reason. I just think there's other, like I said, Kaepernick, Wilson, RG3. I'm taking those guys over Luck.
I don't see Reggie Wayne falling off a cliff unless you're pushing him right now. He still is going to produce. I think the new West Coast offense is actually really going to help him. He's a great route runner. My concerns with Andrew Luck is Pip Hamilton. He was his college coach, offensive coordinator. When he was in college, his last year in college, they threw, I'm pretty sure it was the 40th most times in college football. Now you got Andrew Luck on your team, you got to be in the top 5.
Hey, you know who was good in college? Tim Tebow.
Yeah, well, last year, Andrew Luck had opportunity. He threw the 5th most times in the NFL. Arians likes to air the ball out. Now, there's some things that I think they're going to help with the West Coast offense in the more geared towards the running game. I think his completion percentage is going to go way up. He was around 55% last year. I think it was like 54.7. I think that's going to go up. I think his interceptions is going to go down, but the big play opportunities is also going to go down. So, and obviously the amount of attempts. So I think Luck's going to have maybe a better quarterback rating this year, but I don't know about fantasy football. In a better season.
I think I went over this in another podcast, but I think Dynasty, he is tremendous. I think he's obviously top 3 quarterback talent in Dynasty formats. But I think this year, he's going to have a similar year to what he did last year.
Right.
Similar stats. If you're drafting him thinking he's going to improve upon last year, I think you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
If you're drafting him knowing that last year is pretty much how he'll perform this year, then I think you're okay.
Yep.
And I think in the middle of the 7th round, there's just other guys that have higher upside that I'd rather go with.
I think this is a classic case of he's going to be a much better real football player than a fantasy football player.
Absolutely. So, running back sleepers. This guy I am targeting in the 5th round of all of my drafts all day long. Ryan Matthews, and I know everybody is just running for cover right now. Just probably, I think we just probably had a ton of listeners just turn this podcast off. But
he's ruined people's lives. I think.
I think he has not Aaron Hernandez style, but definitely ruined a lot of fantasy football. It always comes back to Aaron Hernandez, doesn't it? Doesn't it? No,
yeah, I hear you.
So anyway, Ryan Matthews, for what people don't realize about him is, he didn't have the touchdowns last year, but 8th in yards after contact per attempt in the league. More missed tackles. I mean, I've gone over this. More missed tackles than Jamal Charles and Ray Rice last year. 2 years ago had a 1,500 total yard season. He catches passes. He runs the ball. He didn't have the touchdowns last year. I get that. But let's say he jumps back to 6-7 touchdowns this year. He's still going to be all right. 5th round guy. I'm liking that.
I'm having a brain cramp. Who's the new coach?
McCoy, I believe.
Now I know
Mike McCoy.
I saw a quote where he was quoted saying, they're going to put more of an effort towards making Ryan
Matthews.
Matthews.
Talked about this last week. That's what we saw.
That's true. That's right. I'm excited about him as well. To a point, you got to be worried about the injuries.
5th round. That's why. I mean, as my flex guy, as my running back 3, I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Because he's a guy that does have, like I said last week, the eye test is there. The guy looks good playing football. Hopefully, there's going to be a bounce back year for the offense in San Diego, and he's going to be right along with that. I didn't have him as a sleeper, but I can see it. It's a possible good value pick there. I like your next one, Ahmad Bradshaw. I actually had him listed as well.
He's another guy. If Matthews is gone, basically what I'm doing is my first 2 rounds is running backs. My 3rd and 4th rounds are wide receivers. 5th round I'm coming back with a running back, and my running back is going to be either Matthews. If Matthews is gone, it's going to be Bradshaw, and if Bradshaw's gone, it's the next guy on my list, Rashard Mendenhall. But let's just jump to Bradshaw real quick. I mean, I love him. When healthy, he performs. When healthy, he is a good fantasy running back.
Right, and obviously the old thing is when healthy, but...
Right, that's a huge asterisk, but, again, if you're going with my running back, wide receiver, running back in the 5th round scenario, he's your flex guy. He's your running back 3, he's your flex guy.
Yep.
I'm okay with him being my flex guy. If he misses a few games, he's not my top 2 running backs that I have to depend upon. I throw a wide receiver in my flex, and I'm okay.
And again, like I said, not that it's going to translate directly to the NFL, but... Pip Hamilton and Sanford, they ran the football a lot. So that could bode well for Ahmad Bradshaw. And as well, Vic Ballard. He's a guy to keep an eye on just because of the injury history. I think he's going to get some work for sure. And if Bradshaw goes down, then it's his feet back.
He'll definitely have a couple starting games this year.
Oh, yeah, I think so, for sure. Another one you had on there, again, we didn't go over these lists together, Mikel Shore. I had him as well.
I love Mikel Shore.
I do, too.
He is falling crazy in drafts.
Yeah, 10th round, I'm all over that.
On average, he's going at the end of the 10th round. I'm in one of those, again, the My Fantasy leagues that are drafting right now. I got him in the end of the 12th round, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the running backs gone from 6th round and later, there's nobody. After the 6th round, there is nobody. So to get him in the 12th round, that is just absolute
How many
nuts.
touchdowns last year? Was it 8?
Oh, God, you put me on the spot. It was I think it was 8, yes.
He was, I'm
700 and something yards rushing and 8 rushing touchdowns.
I don't have it right in front of me, but I am almost positive he was a perfect. I think he was 6 for 6 or 5 for 5 from the 1 yard line. The guy's a goal line.
They drafted him high for a reason. They drafted him, in the first round?
I think Reggie Bush is going to be huge out of the backfield. I think he's going to get a lot of catches in a PPR. I like Reggie Bush, of course, if he can stay healthy. He is getting a little older, and he has been healthier the last few years, but I don't know if they're going to just forget about Mikel Shore. He's a big boy.
They're not going to forget about him.
From what I saw last year, he's got hands out of the backfield. He's got a little bit of a nimble feet. He's got good size, of course, obviously, and I liked what I saw last year. I don't think they committed to him enough.
LaShore
maybe that's
last
a little bit because he's young and doesn't quite have the offense completely wrapped yet. But I like LaShore. We'll see what happens this year. I'm excited to see what they do in Detroit.
LaShore last year, despite missing the first 2 games because it was a little smoking incident there.
Yeah, hopefully he's put that behind him by the way.
798 yards rushing, 9 rushing touchdowns.
9, okay.
So he's got the goal line capabilities. In PPR leagues, he only had 4 games under double digits for the season.
Yep.
That's
pretty solid.
In the 10th round, that is just I'm jumping all over that. As my RB4, RB5 guy, I love that all day long. And then again, he has huge upside when, and I'm saying when, not if, when Reggie Bush gets hurt.
Right.
I mean, Reggie Bush, yeah, he made it through a full season last year, but
While
that's
you've got
not
the
the norm for Reggie Bush.
While you've got the page open, he's 23 years old, I think. He's still a young guy.
Okay.
The thing with him, too, like I said, he was a second-round pick. They're not going to just forget about him for
23, yeah.
Yeah, for
turned 23 this year.
For a Reggie Bush who's getting older, so I think the future there is McKell. So I don't think he's just going to be cast aside because the big signing of Reggie Bush. I think they have bigger plans for Reggie in the passing offense. So I'm excited about him. Another guy that you have on your list that I did as well, who I think it's unfortunate for where he's being drafted now, Rashard Mendenhall.
You love Rashard
He's been
Mendenhall.
climbing. I love Rashard Mendenhall.
I'm going to give you credit. You turned me on to Rashard Mendenhall.
Yeah.
I was not a believer in him.
Right.
You turned me on to him. I get it now.
The thing is, he's now going up to the 5th round, so it's
end of the 5th. So
Yeah.
it's still great value at the end of the 5th round for a sleeper.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he might be a little bit later. I thought, as the season gets closer, I think that's going to even climb more. So as the season gets closer, I don't know how much of a sleeper he's going to be. They still have Ryan Williams, who's another guy you listed. I didn't, because I'm not going to call 2 guys on the Cardinals a sleeper, but
Why not? Two running
No, I
backs on
agree
a
with
team
you,
that's
though.
going to pass the ball first? Yeah, why not?
I don't think they're
Call it bold.
Yeah, but
or crazy. Whatever.
I like Rashard.
I'll take either.
I like Rashard. I think he's a talented player. He's obviously in a situation where he needs to prove himself. He wants to make some more money for his career. So I like him this year. You have.
I got to tell you, between Mendenhall and Williams, because I have both of them on here, I got to be completely honest with you. I have them on here not because of skill, but because of opportunity. Because Bruce Arians has said, whoever the guy is, he's going to be my bell cow guy.
Yep.
So he's going to get 15 to 20 touches a game. And if I can get a guy, in Mendenhall's case, in the late 5th round, that's going to get 15 to 20 touches a game, that. The case with Williams is going at the end of the 13th round.
Right.
I'm taking a flyer on him at the end of the 13th round because one of 2 things that may happen.
People are picking defenses in the 13th round,
Exactly. One of 2 things may happen with Ryan Williams. Number 1, he could, very slim chance, but he could beat out Mendenhall for the job. Number 1. That could happen at some point during the year, in training camp, what have you. They spent a high draft pick on him for a reason, so any of those things could happen. Number 2, Mendenhall could get hurt. We saw last year him be riddled with injuries at the beginning of the year, come back, still kind of battle with injuries. So even if Mendenhall's healthy now, he may not be healthy the whole year, which means in the end of the 13th round, I'm going to get a guy who potentially could have, 6 to 8 games where he might actually be the starter and get 15 to 20 touches. And I like that. 13th round, I mean, it's a gamble, but in the 13th round, they're all gambles.
Now you're a deep sleeper there, Ryan Williams. You got Sean Green as well. We don't have to go much into him, but I think Joseph Randall's a guy to look at too for the Cowboys. And
a lot of people are high on him.
Strictly because he's a great player out of college.
DeMarco gets hurt all the time.
Catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a very versatile guy. Is he going to be able to pick up the blitz packages? Those kind of things. Those are questions that every rookie running back has, whether they were drafted in the 1st round, 7th round, doesn't matter. But DeMarco Murray, he's injury prone. I mean, if there's anybody out there that rings your bell when you think injury prone, it's probably DeMarco Murray. So a guy that I think would probably take over that job, no question. I mean, I can't say no question. It's early, but I liked what I saw at him in college, and
you're right.
He's a guy to keep an eye on. Obviously, a late sleeper like a Terrell Pryor thing. Keep an eye on him. I'm not drafting him, but
I've seen him go in a lot of drafts, and I think you're right with Randall. I think Randall could be in that Ryan Williams type category where you're taking him because if the main guy goes down with injury, which happens a lot with NFL running backs, then he's going to step in and be a 15-touch guy. And an explosive offense like the Cowboys' offense, that means something. I mean, that's significant. So getting a guy like that late and holding on to him, I think it's totally fine.
One other name I want to mention, too, Bryce Brown, just because I think he's the most talented backup running back in the NFL. I think he'd start for a lot of teams.
Well, Ben Tate.
No, I think Bryce Brown would be a Pro Bowler if he had the opportunity to be number one. And not only that, but I think he's going to get a lot of work out of number two. The Chip Kelly's going to run the football a lot. They're going to get a ton of plays, based on what he's always done wherever he's been. And he's just a guy, especially if you got LaShawn McCoy, he's the number one handcuff for me, I think. So another name I wanted to mention there. Move on to wide receivers.
No, but
bust. Yeah, there's some of those for sure. So
I got a lot of running back busts. I mean, the first, I'm going to say the first two, just because they're on the same team, because I am not understanding either one of these guys. Stephen Ridley and Shane Vereen. I mean, we live in New England, and you'd think I'd be a homer for these guys, and I'd be like, oh yeah, both of them sleepers, both of them are going to be awesome this year. No wide receiver. No. Here's the thing. Stephen Ridley, right now, on average, is going in the middle of the second round. Which, I mean, I get it, 2 years in a row, double-digit touchdowns, over, I think, 1,200 yards rushing.
Yeah, 290 carries last year.
I mean, I get it, he gets the work and he gets it done.
There's nobody to catch the football in New England.
But here's the thing, though. Here's my problem with him. There's talks in camp right now about how Vereen is actually outplaying him in training camp and could push him for the starting job. Okay? Which is one of the things that's kind of pushing Vereen up a little too crazy. But you got Vereen, who's potentially pushing him, and you got him in the middle of the second round? I mean, I'm consistently getting guys like Chris Johnson and MJD in the middle to end of the second round. I can never, in my wildest imagination, see picking Stephen Ridley over either of those guys.
No, but I think he's still going to get a lot of work. It's by history, very good offense. A lot of work,
but he's not going to outperform middle of the second round.
No,
he's not going to put up first round numbers.
No, I don't think there's really any chance of that. And I think the Vereen hype has a lot to do with Woodhead being gone. He was, and especially in a PPR thing, he's going to fly up the roof because of that.
See, here's the thing with Vereen. I'm just going to jump to him real quick here too and put my 2 cents in on this guy. I'm seeing him go right now. I mean, I know right now, according to statistics, he's going in the middle of the 6th round, but I'm seeing him in a lot of the drafts I'm doing right now in the PPR leagues going in the middle of the 5th round, and everybody's putting him as this PPR beast and going to fill in for Aaron Hernandez and catch tons of receptions. And I think they're clouded by his postseason catch that he had, where he basically caught an 8-yard catch and took it to the house for 90. Took it to the house for 91 yards, and everybody kind of remembers that, like, oh my God, 91-yard reception. But I don't think what people realize is, in his NFL career, in 2 years, he only has a total of 15 receptions.
Didn't he pretty much miss the first year, for the most part?
He missed most of the first year, I'll give you that.
Most of the games.
Okay, 15 receptions last year. That's one a game. That's not a PPR beast. PPR beasts are guys like Ray Rice who are going to get you 60, guaranteed.
Right, but he's
15.
He's the natural fill-in for what Danny Woodhead did, I think. But on that roster, he's the guy that's going to fill that slot.
Even in college, his highest reception season in college was 27.
Yep.
That's not that's not a 5th round guy to me in PPR.
No.
A 5th round running back in PPR. You're talking about a guy that's going to get, high side, 40 receptions maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't get that part. I really don't. And I'm a New England guy. I live in New England. I watch them every week. I don't understand them at all.
One of my biggest busts, I think, is going to be David Wilson. I noticed you had him on there as well.
Yep.
I think he's just... Not that I don't think he's going to have a decent year. I think he's just being way overdrafted.
He's a flashy guy again. He's guys that people remember the big runs in college and all that stuff, and he's the flashy guy that you remember.
Or even the big plays last year. He looks exciting, so that's what people remember. But look at... you wrote a great article about this with the split there that they really do have, and it's just amazing to me that everyone just automatically assumes David Wilson. I think there's a chance that Coughlin hates David Wilson as a person. One fumble and he probably will never see the field. It's just Obviously, he didn't do that with Tiki back in the day, but I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I think he's being drafted way too early. Not that I think he's going to have a terrible season, but I don't think he's going to be that much better than Brown, and I don't think he's going to be a third-round pick.
And he's not going to be a bell cow back. And that's, I mean,
no, definitely not.
That's the guys you should be drafting in the second and third round. And I mean, the one. If I'm an NFL head coach, the one thing that I'm seeing that tells me he's not going to be a bell cow back is the fact they're going to have him do kick returns and punt returns. Do you ever see Adrian Peterson kick returning and punt returns? I don't think that's official
yet. Is that?
They've said he was.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
But I mean, you don't see the bell cow backs being a punt returner and kick returner. You don't. You don't see Adrian Peterson. You don't see any of those guys. Chris Johnson, MJD, Matt Forte, any of those guys that potentially could do it. You don't see any of them being a kick returner or punt returner. Too much damage.
I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a situation where I think he's going to have a pretty good year, but I think it's going to be pretty much a timeshare there. So third round.
And Andre Brown's going to get the touchdowns.
He's a good player.
That's all there is.
He's 8 touchdowns last year, and what did he have? 79 carries, roughly. I don't even know.
And he only played half the year.
Yeah,
he got all that in half a year.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
So one name that's probably going to surprise you on my bust list, Trent Richardson. He's being drafted early.
That is surprising.
Now, am I saying...
I mean, there's going to be first-round busts this year, so it's a bold call.
He's a guy that I'm putting out there. He's being drafted very high, and I just...
First round?
Terrible team.
Middle to end of the first round.
Terrible team. I think we're looking at a Steven Jackson type thing, although he doesn't have the durability. I think it's an injury concern with him always. He's already dinged up right now.
Terrible team, but he's their only guy. I mean...
Steven Jackson, look at him over the years. One of the best running backs in the league.
Still a first-round guy.
Yeah,
MJD.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, he's a guy that I'd take him in the second round if he fell to me, but I'm not taking him in the first round. I think he's being drafted a little high. I can understand the hype. He's an unbelievable football player. I love everything about the way he runs, but I'm scared about the injuries. I'm scared about that offense, and I think he's being drafted a little bit too high. He's a guy that I can see you taking and really have not a huge problem with it, but just somebody I'm probably going to stay away from because of where you have to pick him right now.
So would you, consensus is Doug Martin over him. You're taking Doug Martin over him?
Yeah.
All right. Matt Forte. Let's do this.
I would say...
Let's run down names and we'll see which guys you're taking over him to see where he falls for you.
All right, go ahead.
So, Foster, you're taking over him. Peterson over him. Yep. So we got 2. Jamal Charles, you're taking over him.
Yep.
McCoy.
Oh, yeah. I love McCoy this year.
All right. Ray Rice.
Man crush. Yep, Ray Rice.
All right. Matt Forte.
Forte's right. I guess that might be my line, I guess.
So no Forte.
Boy. He's playing...
I hate Forte. I just got to say
I like him a lot this year.
No touchdowns.
I think he's being...
First-round guys got to give me touchdowns.
Coach is planning on getting him really involved in the offense this year, in the passing offense. He had, 40 catches last year? It was one of his worst seasons.
No touchdowns.
That's not going to change. I'd say he's right about my line. What
Alfred Morris.
I'm going to go Alfred Morris ahead of him.
Wow. Okay. Chris Johnson.
I'm going to go... I really don't think that Chris Johnson is going to lose the goal line carries.
Oh, I think he's going to lose them.
Look at the stats, and you're crazy to think that. If they have a half a brain, they won't let that happen. Look at the stats, conversion ratios between the two. It's not even close. Chris Johnson's actually one of the better guys.
Sean Green is crap.
He's terrible.
He's terrible, but it's not going to change it.
So you're so you know what? Maybe you know what? I'll take him ahead of Alfred Morris too. So I've got him where, right?
So wait, you're taking Richardson ahead of Morris?
Yeah, and probably Forte. So what do I got him? 6.
All right, but ahead of CJ?
Yeah.
You're taking Richardson over CJ.
I like CJ more than I'm taking CJ over him, but not Forte. So that's my line right there.
Okay. So MJD obviously is on the other side of that.
Yeah. 29 years old, coming into camp, overweight.
So I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let me put this out. No quarterbacks ahead of him. No. There's no way you're taking a quarterback. No. First round ahead of him, you're not. No.
No, but I'm going to take...
you're crazy.
No, but I'm going to take...
Calvin
ahead of him.
All right.
Yep.
So Calvin, no other receivers. Not Marshall, not Dez, not AJ.
No.
And you're not taking Jimmy Graham over him.
I wouldn't take Jimmy Graham over him, I guess. So maybe he's not too much of a bust.
So you got him 9th overall.
So what's he being drafted? What's the ADP?
My God, I'm thinking 7th, 8th, maybe 9th.
All right, what a huge call.
Wow, that is a huge bust right there. You got him moving down 2 spots.
Well, I'm not excited about him this year, but it's one of those things. You'd have to pick him.
So yeah, don't bust out on him, guys.
All right,
if you got the 7th pick, you're reaching for him because he's a 9th pick overall.
I don't hate him, but I'm being weary of him. All right, that's my thing.
Guy I'm being wary of is Lamar Miller. I am not understanding this hype. Even everybody at Dolphins camp is saying that there's a chance, and I know slim chance, that Daniel Thomas could take this job. And
God, no.
And there's all the hype about Mike Gillislee, our guy Ty Miller, who loves Mike Gillislee.
Yeah.
There's lots of guys out there that like him. I just don't get it. I mean, for what I saw last year, and you guys know how much I hate Reggie Bush. I hate Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush played every game last year for the Dolphins, didn't crack 1,000 yards rushing. So what the hell makes you think Lamar Miller is going to? In my mind, as much as I hate Reggie Bush, I think Reggie Bush is better than Lamar Miller.
I don't know about that. I like what I saw at Miller last year for sure.
Throw in the fact that Jake Long is gone, so their offensive line is weaker.
Right.
And you think Lamar Miller is a beginning to middle 3rd round pick?
Yeah, no way. I'd love Lamar Miller if we were talking 5th round, maybe.
I just think that's crazy. 3rd round for a guy that
has gone too far.
Yeah, way too far. People are just way too excited about this guy. I don't get that at all.
Another guy I'm not touching, Ben Jarvis Green-Ellis. He probably won't even have his job by week 2.
They're saying it's going to be a 50-50 split.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long that lasts. Giovanni Bernard is
much
so much
better,
more talented
and he's their
than
future.
him. Yeah, so he's a guy I'm not touching. I hate Isaiah Peed with a passion as a person, and I don't know him, but as a football player.
That is harsh.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But I think he's 3rd on the depth chart. Obviously it's not announced now, but I think there's no question he's 3rd. Mark my words.
I got a guy that I'm not understanding too. Chris Ivory.
Oh, that's funny. I had him on my sleeper list, so this is a good one.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Yeah. I do not understand this guy at all. I mean, Sean Green last year for them got barely over 1,000 yards, and I think everybody looks at Chris Ivory and they look at the Saints and they go, "Oh my God, he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Oh my God, he averages over 5 yards a carry." Look at the Saints' offense.
Yeah.
I got newsflash for you guys. The Jets are not the Saints.
And another thing...
Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith are not Drew Brees. I mean, Santonio Holmes, it's sounding like, is not going to be there week 1. Even if he is, Santonio Holmes is not Marcus Colston. This is not a dangerous offense. They are not... People aren't going to... Defenses are not going to be worried about being thrown on by the Jets. So they are going to play up on them, just like they did last year. And it's going to drastically take down those yards per carry. I mean, look at spread offenses. Spread offenses like the Saints, yeah, they're going to get you people that are going to have great yards per carry.
Right.
His yards per carry are going to come back down to earth. They have to.
Yeah, I have him a sleeper.
He's going
Interestingly enough, though, he's not a guy I'm going to have in the 4th round. You know what I mean?
Middle of the 4th round is where he's going right now.
I had him as a sleeper when the trade happened.
And his hype's gone too far.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just like the Lamar Miller.
He's up to the 4th round now. I'm not taking him there.
It's the flashy guys. People see the flash, and that's what they think is going to happen.
Well, he's far from flashy. He's nothing but a big bowling ball. But he's, over 5 yards a carry, you mentioned. Outstanding. But when you're a guy who's getting a few carries a game, that's pretty... you're coming in at 100% each carry. You get to go off, have some Gatorade, maybe have an orange, and then you come back out again. So... You're fresh, you know what I mean? That's something people really need to take into account when you have such a small sample size. Yeah, he's had over 200 carries, but it's over a lot of seasons. Well, not a lot of seasons, but 3 or 4 years. So I like him. I think he's a good player, but in the 4th round, crazy. So sleeper, I don't know if I'd call it that anymore. I think it was a sleeper a month ago. Now the hype's just gone a little too far. So seeing that you have him on your bust and where he's being picked, I actually kind of agree with you there.
The guy that I most compare him to is Felix Jones. I think he's going to be just like Felix Jones, where when he's not the guy, crazy high yards per carry because he's not getting a ton of carries.
Right.
But once he becomes the guy, it is not looking good.
And don't forget, he hasn't been able to stay on the field as a part-time guy. How's he going to do it when he's
So real quick,
feature guy?
I gotta show Matt real quick now that I finally brought it up. The picture of Eddie Lacy here, because we're on the running backs. Just before we get to the wide receivers,
I was excited.
I'm going to show him a before pick during mini camp, and then the pick that came out a couple days ago. Let's see his reaction on this. So there's the before camp pick. All right.
Ooh, look at those
Looking good.
arms.
Looking
Fucking
good.
veins all over the place. Yep, he's ready to go.
This was
He hasn't been paid yet, right?
2 days ago.
Oh my God, Eddie Lacy. That's just a pillow. Or maybe it's one of those things that you put because it's cold, it's Lambeau. Wow.
That is on the Packers.com
that's not good.
website.
That's not
That
good
is
at all.
not photoshopped. That is direct from them.
Man.
He is one fat ass in that picture.
Wow, just seeing this picture, it's not gonna. Oh my God.
It could
Eddie
be
Lacy.
It could be
He's in
an
trouble.
unflattering
Jonathan Franklin.
an unflattering angle, but my God, if he really looks like that now, if he just like, hey, I'm in the NFL now, I'm going to stock up on some Twinkies, bump Jonathan Franklin up, way up, especially in dynasty leagues.
Oh my God.
That is
Yeah,
scary.
That's awesome. The before and after.
He
Did
is-
you tweet that?
He
God.
is the new Jamarcus Russell.
That's not good.
That is
Not
that is
good at
not
all.
looking good at all.
So let's move to the wide receivers. We'll go sleepers first. You got another one on here, really stretching Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, that's a
like
huge
your
stretch.
Tom Brady thing.
Huge stretch.
Like your Tom
You kidding
Brady
me?
thing. Let's pick
You
one
don't
of
have
the
him going
greatest
in
wide
like the
receivers of all
ninth
time. So third round pick. I think what you're thinking is he's going to come back to top 3. Is that what I'm reading here? Seeing that?
Top 5, top
five.
3. I think he's
Yep.
gonna push it.
Okay.
I think what people forget is, was he the wide receiver 42 last year? Yes. But when he had Kevin Cobb, when he had a semi-competent quarterback, he was the wide receiver 12. So even when he had a semi-competent quarterback in Kevin Cobb, he was a wide receiver 1. And I mean, newsflash, guys, Palmer's better than Cobb. A lot of people are better than Cobb. I mean, there's no reason why he's not going to jump back to where he was.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't know. Again, calling Brady and Fitzgerald a sleeper is tough, but I completely agree. I think he's gonna have a huge bounce back year.
I'm just talking guys that are going to
Look at our rankings,
outperform their ADP.
They reflect that.
These are guys that are outperform their ADP. So for me, I guess I consider that a sleeper.
You got Torrey Smith on there as a sleeper. We talked about him a little earlier. I know you like him.
Yeah, we can skip over this. We've already kind of gone over
Yeah,
this.
Deshaun, another one. Obviously, we talked about him. That's a big jump, I think, with losing Macklin. You have Miles Austin on there, though, another bigger name guy. And I agree with you. I think Dez has arrived. He's an elite wide receiver. I think that's really going to help Miles Austin, who, you can't forget there was a time there where he was as well, and he's a very good player. So when there's two very, very solid, better than solid players on each side of the field, it's going to be tough to really stop both of them. And I think Dez will be the number one concern.
Dez is going to be the focus, so Dez is going to get all the tough corners.
It's going to leave Miles open to have a big.
Yeah, and when healthy, he again is a good wide receiver. That's been his issue. He's been banged up a lot, but if he can put out a 16-game full season this year, going in the beginning of the 8th round as my wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, I like that. I like his upside potential if he plays out a whole year.
Yeah, and then you have Denario Alexander as another one.
We know how much I love
as well.
Denario.
Yeah, and I have him on there as well. I know how you like to talk about how much you love Denario, but I'm the one that picked him up last year in our home league and rode him through the playoffs. He's definitely an awesome guy. Last year, he never really did it before, but the potential's there. Obviously, the size, he's 6'4", 6'5". He's a beast, and I think if you like Phillip Rivers like you do, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you think Denario is going to have a big year. So,
and guys, if you think I don't stick by my rankings, I do. Like I said, those my fantasy leagues that I'm in right now, it came down between Mike Wallace and Denario Alexander. I took Denario Alexander over Mike Wallace, even though Wallace has an ADP 2 rounds higher.
Yeah, and he's a guy we'll be talking about later in this segment. So, a couple guys that I put on here a little bit deeper sleepers. I like Golden Tate.
We have a Golden Tate question, I think, coming up a little bit later.
Just Saturday, on the 27th, there was a Twitter roundup about the practices, how things have been going, and it was all pretty much about the versatility that's being displayed by Golden Tate. He's obviously going to be filling a void, I think. Percy Harvin's gone, so he's stepping up. He's moving up in the depth chart.
Hey, speaking of like media and like the people that go out on Twitter and kind of report about the training camps and stuff like that, and I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like every head coach after every practice is having some sort of, and maybe it's just all of us wanting the media attention, just seeing what they have to say, but there's a press conference after every practice. And it got me thinking, what if there was a press conference for every person out there after their day job was done? Can you imagine that for a second? Like, your day job's done, press conference. Tell us about your day. I mean, can you imagine that? What that's like for a head coach every day to have to go through a press conference?
Well, it's just a world of how many of us are there out there? You know, the media is taken off with social media, everything.
It's everybody.
Everybody wants to hear something. They want to know. They want to be the first one to get the story.
I'm just saying. I mean,
I wouldn't have much exciting to say. I'll tell you that.
The fry cook at your local McDonald's. Yeah, it was a tough day today. Had to mop up puke a couple times.
Yeah.
Had to fry that fry later. Had to change the oil today.
That one party that came in looking for 12 double cheeseburgers. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I got it done.
Yeah. We ran out of McChicken sandwiches, so that was a bitch. Somebody wanted a liter of cola, Super Trooper style. We don't have liter cola.
I've got a little bit of a straddle. I also have Sidney Rice on my list. Again, he's more of, drafted by the Vikings, a little bit of a, I don't know if you'd call it homer, but that's, my favorite team. So I liked what I saw out of him back in Minnesota, and I think a lot of that had to do with the humongous balls of Brett Favre and the fact that he would just kind of throw the ball wherever the fuck Sidney Rice was.
You say huge balls like you got one of those Brett Favre picks.
I might have, actually. No, I didn't, but I like Sidney this year, too. Again, Percy's gone, although I think Percy being there would have helped him even more, left him more wide open on the outside for those jump balls, but another guy that's a deep guy, and I think will be rising, is Riley Cooper. He's pretty much, Philly Inquirer said he's the one that's going to be filling the void. Macklin's gone. They're going to be...
He's their wide receiver, too?
Yeah, he's probably going to be the wide receiver, too, in a high-octane offense, so he's a guy to take a look at. And then Brandon LaFell. I like the size out of Brandon LaFell. Steve Smith isn't getting any younger. It's his 4th year in the league. It's a contract year, so he needs to have a big season. Last year... 677 yards, 4 touchdowns. I can see a little bit of sway in the power there between Smith and Brandon LaFell. He's got a lot to play for. So
it's interesting that you take LaFell and you point out that Steve Smith getting older in his 4th year and LaFell being his 4th year in the league, but you didn't put DHB on there. When you think about Reggie Wayne and his age, I mean, Wayne and Steve Smith have got to be the same age.
Yeah.
And
they're very close.
And DHB's in his 5th year. So it's a very similar situation, I feel. And, I mean, at the bare minimum, I think DHB has the better passing quarterback. I'd rather have Andrew Luck throwing to me than Cam Newton. Now, don't get me wrong. For fantasy purposes, I'd rather have Cam Newton because of his running and his rushing touchdowns. But if I'm a receiver, I'd expect more out of Andrew Luck than Cam Newton.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's a ton of names, too, in wide receiver. It's a really deep position as far as guys that you can expect to see some big things. Some other names, Kenny Britt. I mean, you got to like him.
Kenny Britt, he's another guy. Went healthy.
Hey, this is the first off season, I think, that we haven't heard of Kenny Britt. Usually he's getting in trouble or something's going on, so I'm excited to see him this year.
We still got a month to go.
Yeah, exactly. Vincent Brown, we mentioned him a little earlier in the podcast. He's healthy, and I think, going in actually last preseason in San Diego, he was the guy that was opening a lot of eyes as a possible number 1. So... we'll see what he can do.
I am hedging my Denario Alexander with Vincent Brown in some of my leagues. Yep. I am taking DX 7th, 8th round and following it up with Vincent Brown in the 10th or 11th round, just in case I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but just in case I am, it's nice to hedge it a little bit.
So like I said, we could go on forever, I think, with the sleeper situations here, wide receiver. But what about some busts that you have?
My biggest bust, and this is another guy, I think the hype train is just crazy because he's a flashy guy, is Tavon Austin. I mean, we haven't had a rookie wide receiver, aside from maybe Julio and A.J. Green, that came onto the scene as a rookie and were fantasy relevant. And A.J. Green and Julio Jones are not Tavon Austin. Like, Tavon, I understand everybody's all excited about the new NFL, the Percy Harvins, the Randall Cobbs, the guys that are going to line up in the backfield and get the ball all sorts of different ways. Bottom line, he's a rookie wide receiver. He's got Sam Bradford throwing him the ball, and he's on arguably one of the worst offenses in the NFL, aside from maybe the Jets. I'm just not getting it. End of the 6th round?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a bet on him earlier this year, top 25 wide receiver, and I'd still stand by that, but I think 6 rounds early.
So, I mean, going in the end of the 6th round, some of the sleepers that I had ahead of him, After where Tavon Austin is going, you can get Deshaun Jackson, Miles Austin, Denario Alexander. I think I'm taking all 3 of those guys over Tavon. I'm not understanding that.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I completely agree. I didn't list him on my bust, but where he's being picked, I'd say that could be a very good candidate.
Even Justin Blackmon last year was being picked 10th round. That's where the rookie wide receivers last year were going. And so I don't see why the hype for Tavon Austin, magically now he's a 6th round pick when people like Justin Blackmon were 10th.
Here's another one. This one I want to get to because I think it's kind of funny. 3 minutes ago, I stand by my rankings, people. So T.Y. Hilton,
you like
him
this?
on your bust.
You like this?
Didn't you just say you stand by your rankings? You wrote an article about this
stand
guy.
by my
You got
rankings.
him as a bust now.
Go check out my rankings. A lot has happened since I wrote that article about him.
Right, I hear you.
T.Y. Here's my thing with T.Y.
Does it have a lot to do with being 7th round now? Maybe you were looking at it as
No. It has nothing to do with that because that's where I expected him to go Darius Hayward-Bay.
Okay.
For some reason, and I probably should have put Darius Hayward-Bay in my sleepers list because he's going about the 13th round right now, and I could almost put money on it right now that DHB will have more fantasy points at the end of the year than T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I'd say he's a better player.
I think Darius Hayward-Bay, is the better player. I think he fits that offense better. And the word out of Colts camp right now is that he's going to be the wide receiver 2 opposite of Reggie Wayne.
Yep.
And that T.Y. is going to be that wide receiver 3, which means he's going to get on the field.
Guy.
He's going to get in the field for 2/3 the play that Darius Hayward-Bay is going to be in there for. So Hayward-Bay is going to be in on 33% more plays. God, even 33% more plays with Andrew Luck throwing you the ball, that's something. The guy opposite Reggie Wayne is going to be fantasy relevant this year. I think Hilton has the skills, and I can't wait to see what that offense looks like in a couple of years with DHB and Hilton as the 1 and 2. But as the number 3 receiver, who's not going to be on the field that much, I don't see him really improving upon what he did last year. I think, again, just like Andrew Luck, he's going to have similar numbers to what he had last year.
Few for me. I had Mike Wallace, a bigger name guy.
He is definitely one I think is going to be a bust.
I'm not excited about a lot of reports that they're not really connecting. It's early, so that's not really a big concern for me. But I don't know. He's just never been a guy I loved. I think there was a lot of talent there in Pittsburgh and that wide receiver core, and obviously a pretty good quarterback. We'll see, though. We'll see. He could.
I feel like
prove me
he used
wrong.
to be a burner, and he's not a burner anymore.
Oh, he's still a burner. He's a young guy. Cecil Short's another one. A lot of concussions. I'm not excited about him.
You.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of him. I would have made him a sleeper.
Yeah, I'm not excited about him. A lot of concussion issues. I still think they're really hurting in the quarterback situation.
The quarterback thing is the only thing I'd be worried about.
Another name that I think is being drafted way too high is James Jones. He was on the field last year for somewhere around 80-90% of the snaps. Look at his reception numbers, yards numbers. I don't think he's going to be able to repeat the touchdown situation that he had last year.
It would be very, very well. I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough to repeat 15 touchdowns.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to repeat close to that. I should say. Not that I don't think he's going to get to 15. I don't think he's going to get to 10.
I was going to say 7 to 8.
Yeah,
is my number.
And then Greg Jennings. I think Christian Ponder's awful. I've said that many times. I'm not super excited about him.
They got to be drafting a quarterback next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what he's going to do this year, but it's certainly number one, I think, on their evaluation list right now. I'm sure the scouts are going to be looking heavily at quarterback. Let's move over to tight ends. Like we've been doing, we'll start with sleepers. Another huge name you've got. You're really, really going on.
They're not really. I know.
I
went a different direction from you. You went deep sleepers. Yeah. I went basically people that are going to
value pick
outperform
with some of them,
outperform their ADP,
which is fine. Yeah, and that guy's Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Do we have to talk a lot about him? I mean, great player, like you said. You made a few good notes here, though, so go ahead and go by those for me.
He's going at the end of the 4th round, and I'm picking him up in the end of the 4th round of every draft I can. 3rd round, I think, is too early. Beginning of the 4th, I think, is still a little too early. End of the 4th, I'm loving it. I mean, this is a guy that's been basically the number 1 tight end, the last 3 years, since he's been in the league. Double-digit touchdowns every year. And I think when you're drafting him in the end of the 4th round, I'm drafting him with the understanding that he's going to get me 10 to 12 games of elite production. He is going to be 10 to 12 games out of this year. He's going to be the number 1 fantasy tight end.
Right.
And he has the upside to give me up to probably 14 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm drafting him with the understanding that 4 to 6 weeks out of the year, I'm going to have to get a fill-in guy to fill in for him maybe at the beginning of the year, maybe a couple times throughout the year.
Which is fine. We've talked about that in the past. The tight end position has, after that first two guys, it's a huge drop-off.
And I think
a ton of guys that you flip a coin on, like you said, fill them in, and then when Gronkowski gets back, you're set.
I think with him, too, we might be overreacting to his injury the same way we're overreacting to MJD's injury. And I think there's the chance that he could play 14 games this year, or maybe even 16. I mean, I think there's a chance he play. I'm thinking 14, but 10 to 12 I think is more the number. Even last year, let's call last year his floor. Last year he played in 11 games, had 55 catches for 790 yards and 11 touchdowns. If I can get a guy for 11 games that's going to give me 11 touchdowns at the tight end position, I'm taking that in the 4th round, and I'm going to fill in with maybe one of my other sleepers a little bit later with Jordan Cameron, that type of guy.
Right.
And not only this, but being that Hernandez is gone, Lloyd is gone, Branch is gone, Woodhead's gone, all these guys are gone, he's the only guy that's going to have a really, really, really strong rapport with Brady. So I think Brady's going to target him more than normal now in the offense.
Another name we glanced over, I think, in wide receiver, Edelman. Just keep an eye on him. He's there. Reports are he's probably going to be lined up as the number 2. So can he stay on the field? That's obviously a question, but he's been there, and he showed some flashes of a very skilled player. So
up until the point that he got hurt last year, he had more receptions than Wes Welker.
Yeah. They were making that transition, it seemed. You also listed, you mentioned Jordan Cameron. I had him as well. I made a nice little note on him, actually. Kellen Winslow, Antonio Gates, and Greg Olson all had their best seasons while Rob Chadinsky was on the staff. So, the kid's a great athlete. It's a year where I'm not taking him early, and I don't know if I'm excited about him being my number 1 at all, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. He's a great talent.
Yeah. Here's the thing, too. Going even past your Rob Chadinsky information, there, Norv Turner, over the last 5 years, his tight end, Antonio Gates, was the tight end 12, tight end 7, tight end 2, tight end 3, and tight end 4 over the last 5 years. So, I mean, maybe throw out... even if you keep it in there, last year Antonio Gates was the tight end 12, which means he's a starting tight end in a 12-team league. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, the 4 years prior, he was tight end 7, 2, 3, and 4. So you're basically getting yourself, on average, say, a top 5 tight end out of a guy that has played in the Norv Turner offense. And if you don't believe me that Jordan Cameron is going to be an Antonio Gates fill-in guy, Gates is 6'4", 260 pounds. Cameron, 6'5", 254. They're the same size.
Right.
It is the same, basically in Turner's mind and Turner's offense, it's the same player.
And from an athletic standpoint, I'd say Cameron can do everything Gates can. It just hasn't translated onto the field yet. But
throw
opportunity is also a big thing with that.
Well, throw in the fact that they really don't have... I mean, Josh Gordon, put him aside for a second because he's suspended for a couple games. They don't have a receiver. I mean, Greg Little, no. Greg Little's not the answer.
Yeah.
First 2 games of the year, it's going to be the Jordan Cameron show. And then even after Josh Gordon's back, I think he's going to get tons and tons of play. And right now, going at the end of the 12th round, that's huge value.
There is another guy on the list that we both had, Ed Dixon, who's been vaulted, obviously, because of the Pitta injury.
This is just common sense, I feel.
Yeah, he's a good player, though. I like him. 2 years ago, like I said, he had 528 yards receiving with 5 touchdowns and 54 catches. That was his second year in the league. Like I said, he kind of took a back seat to Pitta last year. But now that he's going to be pretty much the undisputed number 1 tight end, no question, Shanko's not going to challenge him for that position. I kind of like Ed Dixon this year. So some bust, I find it interesting. You wrote Aaron Hernandez.
Wait, before we get to the bust here, Vernon Davis.
I skipped right over him, yeah.
Vernon
absolutely.
Davis, I think, is... I have a hard time picking him at the end of the 5th round because I think that borders on where his value is.
Right.
But he's lining up at wide receiver in mini camps.
So exciting. Yeah.
Talk about, just matchup nightmares like Rob Gronkowski. If he's lining up for the wide receiver role, which is very possible this year with Crabtree being out, that is huge. If you can get a guy that's considered a tight end but lines up as a wide receiver, that is big time. That is, I mean,
he's not going to have any more snaps, anything like that. That's not what we're talking about. But the
more opportunities.
Yeah,
more
opportunity
targets.
is going to be the thing, and the type of opportunity. If he's lining up as wide receiver, obviously he's going to stretch the field a little more. He's a fast guy. He really is. People don't know. He came out of college, out of Maryland. He ran, I think, a 4.37 40. That's unbelievable at his size.
The one thing that may scare you a little bit about him, and everybody kind of pumps out this stat, is during the regular season with Colin Kaepernick as a starter, his fantasy points were 14, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0. Now, get past that for a second here. I mean, I know you hear all those zeros and ones and twos, and you're like, oh my god, this guy is terrible. Kaepernick hates him. In the postseason, he stepped it up. In the postseason, it was 4, 10, and 10. So Kaepernick, maybe it just took him a little while to get connected with Vernon Davis, but he just started clicking with Vernon Davis. And those 10s aren't because of touchdowns. That's all yardage. So it's not like
he had a good postseason.
It's not like he was getting 40 yards and a touchdown, 40 yards and a touchdown. Which I mean, granted, even in fantasy things, you'll take that. You'll take 40 yards and a touchdown from your tight end. That's, right. I mean, 10 points every week out of your tight end.
I'd rather see an 8 and 100 without a touchdown, just because of obviously it's showing you the target, the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure over time that's going to even out, and they're going to be a much better situation with that.
But I
kind
think
of
he has great upside this year if he is going to end up being lined up as a wide receiver a lot.
Yeah,
so that's something to pay attention to in preseason. If he lines up in wide receiver a lot this year, he is going to skyrocket past the end of the 5th round, and that's going to be, I mean, end of the 5th round. That's I think that's fair value right now until we know more. But I could see him getting into the early 5th or even 4th round if he lines up as a wide receiver.
It's still hard for me to pick him in the 5th though, with what else would be out there, you know?
Yeah. So bust. Do you like my bust here? You like
yeah,
these two that
I had the same thing. Aaron Hernandez. We already made a joke about him. I think one is enough.
No, there's
somebody
it's the
died.
Gift,
God damn it!
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you wrote Pitta as well, the poor guy.
Those aren't busts.
Yeah,
if you draft Hernandez and Pitta, are those not busts?
One guy that I had that's actually realistic that's going to be on the football field, I think Antonio Gates. I think you got to give up on him. I think it's over.
Yeah, he really started
sad
to
as
come
it
down
might be,
last
but
year.
I think he's done. Not that he's being picked super high or anything. It's just tough to pick a tight end bust because they fall. They're going so late, like you said, like we said earlier.
Just like the quarterbacks.
Yep.
Well, before we get into kind of our questions for the week and everything, because we finally got some questions this week. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we've been getting so many of them. It's just been hard to decide. So we usually only pick one. But
yeah, there's no sugarcoating
that.
That doesn't really happen. But before we get into that, I just want to give the Fantasy Typhoon a shout out. He sent us an article for the website this week, and oddly enough, it was on why Dennis Pitta was going to be a breakout tight end this year. And he sent it to us the day before Pitta's injury. So it is probably the best article you'll never read. Because by the time it was set to go on the website, totally irrelevant for this year. So make sure you go out and follow him at Jesus Protects Me. Great guy, great insight. Just terrible coincidence there. Terrible timing on that.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe it almost worked out and we shouldn't have said anything. Because then nobody would have known.
Yeah, but it is so.
You can't predict injuries, obviously.
You can't, and it just sucks to put that kind of time and effort into an article and never even get it out there for people to see. So
you'll be fine.
Make sure you go give him a follow. But speaking of follows, don't forget to follow me at Marcus Katkin and Matt at Matt Dugal on Twitter. So quite a few questions for this week. First one. Is Riley Cooper going to be fantasy relevant this year? I think we talked about this.
Yeah, I think I already answered that for you. I had him as a sleeper. I like that he's filling his number 2 role. I don't have his current ADP right now in front of me, but I imagine it's
real low right now.
Really low. Of course, that's going to rise. But yeah, I think he'll be relevant this year, absolutely, in that offense, and he's probably going to be the number 2.
Yeah, I think every starting player in the NFL is position wise like this: wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks. Yep. They're going to be relevant this year.
Now, when did this question come in? Was this today? It was obviously after the Macklin
yesterday,
injury?
I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think he's definitely going to be fantasy relevant.
Absolutely.
How relevant I think he's going to be? That's another question. I think he's going to be the type of guy that maybe 4 to 6 games out of the year he's going to put up numbers that were starter worthy. but I don't think he's a guy that I'm ever going to feel comfortable starting.
Right. He's definitely not supremely on my radar. Yes, he's a sleeper, but it was more of a guy's going to be starting in a value situation for me. If I have to have him as a wide receiver number 3, I think he will be for some guys out there, and it's not going to be the worst case situation in that offense, but definitely not a super high upside, I think, with him.
All right, so our next question here is rank these late round wide receiver flyers. We got Alshon Jeffrey, Ryan Broyles, Golden Tate, DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Floyd. Right. I don't know where you're going with this, but right off the bat, Floyd and Jeffrey. Floyd number 1, Jeffrey number 2 for me.
All right, good. So we're going different directions. I'm going Golden Tate number 1.
You think that Harvin injury is really going to bump him up, huh?
Yeah, I do. I've always liked Golden Tate. I thought he was going to be a lot more coming into the league. He hasn't quite shown it yet. We've seen flashes, but I think that's going to help quite a bit. Sidney Rice isn't 100% healthy either, so what else is really left there?
Golden Tate. Here's the thing I'm kind of worried about with Seattle. I mean, you got Sidney Rice, you got Golden Tate, you still got Doug Baldwin, who's shown flashes.
Yeah.
But my other main thing that kind of worries me a little bit is Russell Wilson has shown that he has several games where he's only attempted 20 to 25 passing attempts.
Right.
So at 20 to 25 passing attempts, let's just say for a second that Sidney Rice, Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin get equal receptions across the board, and let's say between the tight end and the running back, 5 pass attempts go to the running back and the tight end, which is being very conservative. I think there's going to be more than that, but let's say 5. So now we're talking about 15 pass attempts between the 3 of those guys. Each of them get 5. So 5 targets a game. I guess we're talking about other guys that are backups. 5 targets is,
none of these guys are, in a situation where they're going to get a ton of
Michael
work.
Floyd, I think, is in a situation where he's going to get a ton of targets.
Yeah,
Alshon Jeffrey, I think that the Bears are going to go to a pass-heavy offense with Mark Trestman.
I had Alshon as a sleeper. I had Ryan Broyles. I had every single one of these names as a sleeper. I think it's a great list of names to ask. They're all bunched in pretty close.
I do have Golden Tate 3rd, though. So yep. I'm not too far off with where you are, but I got Floyd 1, Jeffrey 2, Tate 3, Ryan Broyles 4, and then DeAndre Hopkins 5, just because rookie wide receivers, it just takes them a while to catch on.
Yeah, for me, it would be Tate, Floyd, Jeffrey, Broyles, and Hopkins. So close.
So we're basically the same order, just different on
an
Tate.
Awesome list of names there. Whoever asked that question, did you write down the names by any chance?
No, I did not.
It was a great question because I think that's a group of guys that are very close and very good question. So the next one was with the Harvard news. Do you go out and add either Doug Baldwin or Chris Harper in the deepest leagues? We've talked a little bit about who I'm going to be adding, Golden Tate.
But this is going even deeper than that. This is going Doug Baldwin. I think I'm going with Baldwin over Chris Harper, and I think there's a lot of Chris Harper hype out there just because he's a rookie. Again, though, rookies just don't perform in the first year out there.
Yeah, especially at the wide receiver position.
It takes some time to learn that playbook.
And Baldwin's a guy who's produced when he's been on the field. I think Baldwin's definitely the answer to that question. Although Harper may have a little bit of a higher ceiling.
So, I possibly. I'm going Baldwin there. I think neither one of those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe more towards Dynasty. I don't think either one of those guys is really going to have any fantasy impact this year.
Yeah, neither do I.
But,
he's deepest of the league, so I don't know what kind of league he's in, and I think for me it's Doug Baldwin.
So best value given current ADP, and I already think I know where Matt's going to go on this one, but Giovanni Bernard, Bryce Brown, Bernard Pierce, Andre Brown, or Joyke Bell.
You probably think I'm going to go Bryce Brown, but I'm going to go Giovanni Bernard.
Ooh, Bernard. Now we're talking best value. Bernard's going 5th round? So you think he's the best value in the 5th round?
I don't have the ADPs right in front of me. Did you happen to write those down?
I didn't.
So if he's going
I got to do all the work over here?
Yeah, you do.
Christ.
You're the freaking producer of this goddamn podcast. What's the
I got to do everything around here. I got to do all your legwork.
All right. Well, if he's going in 5, that's something I wasn't 100%.
To give you an idea, Andre Brown is going middle to end of the 7th.
Yeah,
and that's my guy.
And where's Bryce going right now?
Bryce is much later. Bryce, I want to say, is probably 10th, 9th.
Given current ADP. Yeah. Boy.
Right? They're all pretty similar except for Bernard, who is way
I think
higher.
you can take Joyke Bell and throw him away.
It depends on the format. I mean,
it
PPR
doesn't
he's
matter.
worth a little bit more.
It doesn't matter.
But,
I think
and
Bush
again,
is taking that role.
we're going on value.
Bush is taking that role. I don't care where he's being picked. I'm not touching Joyke Bell. I don't think he's going to get on the field a ton this year.
For me, it's Andre Brown because he's being picked in the 7th round, and I think he could have 4th to 5th round value.
And I think I'll give you that. Andre Brown, probably Bryce Brown is number 2 then because of.
Told you like your Bryce Brown.
Yeah, you're right. Because of the offense, we've talked about it. I don't know how many times. I don't even want to say it again. They're going to run the football there in the plays.
What are they going to do there?
They're going to run the football.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia, so it's going to be him. Although I think end of year, who's going to have the most points out of all of them? That's why I said Giovanni Bernard.
Oh yeah, he's going to have the most points.
Current
ADP. We're talking value though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Andre Brown, Bryce Brown, probably then Giovanni, then Bernard, then Joyke Bell.
Yeah, because Pierce and Bell, I don't expect.
Pierce has no chance to get the job. I think Bernard's going to take the job, so that's why I'm going to say him.
Pierce and Bell, unless there's injury, which you can't predict, have no impact this year. I think there's no value there. They're not going to get enough touches to be relevant. Bernard obviously is totally relevant. Bryce Brown, I think, is going to get a decent amount of touches that he could be a good bye-week fill-in guy. But Andre Brown, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Yep.
So, final question here, kind of a complicated one a little bit. It's a keeper league, 10-team PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 flex guys. So basically, this guy, he gets to keep 3 people, and he has 2 first-round picks. And basically, the way he's mocked out the first round, he plans on having LaShawn McCoy, Trent Richardson, Lamar Miller, Demaryius Thomas, and Randall Cobb. Which I mean, that's great 5 guys right there off the bat. I gotta say. So in his second round, he thinks he's gonna have the choice between Reggie Wayne, Reggie Bush, DeMarco Murray, and Stafford. And he thinks if he waits on quarterback, he get Romo a couple rounds later, and then after that, it's a quick drop off to people like Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. So what do you think? Where do you go with this? Wayne, Bush,
what
Murray,
the
and
keepers,
Stafford.
Keepers here: LaShawn, Richardson, Lamar, Demaryius, and Randall Cobb. Those are on his team?
That's where where he's mocking people. That's what he think will be on his team after the first round of the draft.
Okay.
Big thing here for me, I think, is the 2 flex positions because you can start up to 4 running backs if you do that, or up to 5 wide receivers, and it is PPR.
Well, what are your thoughts?
You know how much I hate Reggie Bush,
Right.
but I think he's the guy there. I think it's PPR. He's going to catch a lot of passes. DeMarco Murray, for me, he gets hurt way too often and honestly doesn't really catch any passes.
Right.
Reggie Wayne, he catches a lot of passes, but I really think there's a drop-off coming this year. I really do. And I think Reggie Bush, his floor is 40 receptions this year for me. And I think that's as your second flex guy, because you already have McCoy, Richardson, and Miller. I think that's a great second flex guy.
I would say yes, especially in a PPR. Like you said, 40 is definitely his floor.
Yeah, I think
if he came out this year with 70 catches, I wouldn't be surprised. So
no, and
I think Reggie's the pick there. Stafford,
it's
wait
not
on quarterback.
It's not Stafford. Wait on quarterback.
Yeah.
For me, I guess you maybe I like the opportunity DeMarco has. I'm just worried about his injuries. I think if he plays a full 16-game season, PPR or not, he's a top 10 running back if he plays a full 16 games. But I think that's a huge if. So I think your real choices there are the 2 Reggies, Bush and Wayne, and it just depends on how you feel about Reggie Wayne. If you think Reggie Wayne's gonna have a year like he had last year, then you're picking Wayne.
I do like him this year. I really do.
If you think there's the drop off coming, like I think, then I go Bush.
Yeah, it's a it's a tough call there. But I'm gonna
love the team though. So far.
I'm gonna say Reggie as well. Yeah, that's a stacked team for sure.
That's a good start to a team.
And then, like you said, Stafford, don't even consider. There's too many other good players there, and a lot of good quarterbacks left after him. So
yeah.
One thing we need to make sure Marcus does next week, everybody, just
do all your homework for you.
Yeah, do all my homework. Give me the names of these guys that are asking these great questions. We need to give them some shout-outs.
Just give you a script so you can read it.
Give them some shout-outs. They're asking questions to us, and we're just not even going to acknowledge them.
I hear you. They're good guys. I appreciate them. I appreciate, obviously the questions and getting their questions read on air. But yeah, we'll start giving them shout-outs. So keep the questions coming, guys. Make sure to tweet questions to Blindside Pod. Hashtag BlindsidePod, or you can email us too. Email the questions to blindside@blindsidefootball.com. Matt, I think that does it for us. You got anything else?
No, I think it's about it.
All right, have a good night,
See you
guys.
later.
Yo, check it, it's my time. I'm rapping about Blindside Fantasy Football Podcast in this rhyme because they got me the inside scoop on Adrian Peterson. Yeah, he's that dude on Cam Newton. Yeah, they give me the news more on Megatron, Calvin Johnson if I stay tuned. On all quarterbacks, RG3 happens to be the fastest QB in the league. In fact, Colin Kaepernick is rider QB for them 49ers. It ain't hard to see, Some awesome people hosting Marcus Katkin and Matt Dugal. You should be joining. Skinny or fat, short or tall, anyone can tune in to Blindside Football. Have a try, dude. Listen on